like a North Melbourne player yet?
I do, particularly where I was probably 3 weeks ago, meeting the boys at the airport on the way to Utah. It was a little bit different, there's no doubt about that, but after living in each other's back pockets for 3 weeks, I think I've got to know the guys really well, and then we've had a solid week of training back here. So it's definitely changed, and it's something that I'm still, need to get a little bit more used to, and I think that'll come with time. But, so far I really enjoyed my last month of footy.
Anything in particular that's really different to St Kilda?
Oh, I mean, at the end of the day, they're football clubs and everyone works extremely hard. The guys are different in different ways, It doesn't mean that St Kilda's right and North's wrong or vice versa. But there's different personalities. I'm still trying to work through everybody, who's the characters, who's pretty serious and all those sort of things. But at the end of the day, when training's on, it's the most important thing. And I think the first month's been really solid.
Where do you see this list as at, Nick? I guess you obviously went through that before you joined.
Yeah, I see them as really exciting. And now that I'm a part of it, I think training's been really exciting. They're probably more skillful than I thought they would be. I think they're highly talented. Their work ethic and the way they go about their trainings probably surprised me a little bit in a good way. They're extremely dedicated. No one complains, no one argues. They sort of just cop the training sessions on the chin, and there've been some really gruelling and some big questions asked in regards to the way they've gone about training in Utah particularly. But everyone's just got on with their business and has got through, so it's been really exciting.
Have you had a few more discussions with Scotty about what sort of role you play in the squad? A bit different to St Kilda, is it role you played at the same?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, we haven't got into any detail yet, and I'm still probably trying to get a bit of a feel in regards to the playing group. There's a lot of guys that go through the midfield, and I said that before I'd even had one training session in a previous press conference. I said I feel like I need to be able to be adaptable as well. A little bit of half back, a little bit of half forward, and obviously on ball, which I've played the majority of my career. So that probably hasn't changed, and I'm still trying to work it through. And I've had a couple of chats with Scotty along the way about how things can work and how we can work in together. So I'd expect that to progress probably more after Chrissy.
Do you want to get up more forward next year? Sorry.
I've been trying that for 12 years, and no one pays attention. A little bit. I think for me, and for the team, I need to contribute more on the scoreboard, and I've felt that for a few years previous, and I think for this, where the footy team's at the moment, you need to give the forwards a bit of a chop out and not leave it all to Drew Petrie and these sort of guys. So I think I need to contribute more on the scoreboard.
What do you think of the AFL's new marking rules? That they say it's going to give better freedom to players, marking the ball. Have you had a good look at them?
Oh, I haven't, because I'm not much of a marking player. I think the rule changes in general are always questionable when they come out, but I think in time players adapt to whatever, whether it be interchange rules or the in the back rules, whatever it may be. I think the players have a good ability to be able to change and adapt to the modern game, and I don't see this as being any different.
How about leadership, Nick? Coming across as a senior player, do you see an opportunity to take on an official role with the Kangaroo? In
regards to an official role, I'm not too sure, and to be honest, that doesn't really faze me either way. I think the leaders that they have at the top end being, Drew Petrie, Boomer Harvey, Wellesley and those sort of guys, but there's a couple of young guys coming through that have already stood out, and Jack Zeeble, Jamie McMillan really voices his opinion and has a really good way of coming across and presents some really good points. Whether it's official, I'm actually in a leadership group or I'm not, I think I'm just going to go about my footy the way that I do. I'm encouraging at times. At times you have to challenge, you have to lead by example, particularly because the group is a bit younger. But by saying that, a lot of guys have asked me already about previous experiences, whether it be personal or previously at St Kilda in regards to nearly winning premierships. So I think it'll happen naturally. It doesn't, at this stage, doesn't really faze me about what the title is, just probably more about how I actually go about it.
The 120 cap on interchanges, how do you see that impacting on perhaps guys like yourself, running hard all day long?
Yeah, I think the way that it might impact midfielders is they might have to rest forward, for example, and I think you've seen in recent years, Juddy's done it, Dane Swan does it, a few guys from Richmond, Cochin and Martin, those guys are able to go forward and contribute. I think that's probably where, and Gary Ablett's done it probably better than anybody in the last couple of years. I think that's where you're going to get your rest. Obviously with the caps, you can't just come on and off like we have in previous years, and that's once again something that we're going to have to learn and adapt to, and I think it'll take a little while to get used to that, but once it's sort of under control, I think the game will just progress again.
Is that going to mean it's going to be more on coaches to sort of tell you guys to come off as opposed to players just sort of going off?
I reckon it works both ways. Off the top of my head, I think if the players had a good awareness and an understanding of what the structure would be coming on and off, I think that would really help. I know there's probably a lot of things going on for the coach already, structurally and tactically and all that sort of thing. So if that is one less thing that they can worry about and the players can take control of the interchange, then I think it can only be a positive.
guess it can help you kick a few more goals as well if you're spending a bit more time forward.
Yeah, I'd be happy to play full forward, one out for the majority of the game, but it's just all part of it. We'll work through that as the months go by.
Nick, you've played in 3 grand finals with St Kilda. I know you've only been here for a couple of weeks, but
Yeah.
do you feel like this team has the potential, from what you've seen already, that it could go all the way?
This year, you're asking about, or at some stage? I think that's a tough one. It's, I mean, even in 2009 and 10, 2009 and 10, when at St Kilda, we never even thought about premierships at that stage. It was more about the process, and I think that's probably where North Melbourne are at as well. It's more about going about their business. The 3 weeks in Utah, it wasn't mentioned, and I've already heard a few times today while we were training about, top 4 expectations and all those sort of things. I think that's almost a byproduct, and that's a result of the way that you go about your football throughout the year. And I know through Ross Lyon, it was all about the process. It was all about making sure your Monday to Friday was right and your football would take care of itself on the weekend. And I think that has held me in good stead, and I think that's something that I can pass on to the boys, that when you start worrying about the results already, it's a long way to go. So I think that the group has a lot of capabilities. Whether that looks like a top 8 or top 4, I don't know, and it doesn't really bother me at the moment. But just the way that we go about our footy and make sure that we train hard at the moment, then we'll be ready to go come Feb, I think.
A bit of a circus around Essendon again this week. Was it a bit baffling to see James Hird get a $1 million payout, even though he's suspended next year?
That'd be nice. I wouldn't mind a $1 million payout. Oh, mate, that's up to them. That's not my place to comment on other footy clubs, and particularly senior coaches. They'll sort through it. They've handled themselves really well, I think, for the last year, and they'll continue to do so.
Your program, just quickly, Nick, at the moment, you're in good nick, you're going fine on the track?
Yeah, I've done everything. It's the one thing I'm surprised with, Brent Harvey still does every session. So if he's doing it, it means that I have to do it. I haven't missed a session. I've been pretty fortunate throughout my whole career to hardly miss a pre-season training session at all for 12 odd years, and I feel good. It's a little bit different. Training's different. It's harder at times. It's a little bit easier at times. So I'm still trying to get my head around that. I just make sure I'm not late. I just get here on time and then try and work out what I'm doing for the rest of the day. But right now I feel really good. Looking forward to one more week of solid training and then a couple of weeks off after Chrissy, and before you know it, NAB Cup comes around.
Anyone in particular you've gravitated towards in your time here so far?
Spent a lot of time with Jack Siebel, Jamie McMillan, and probably Sean Atley. We were rooming together in Utah just by coincidence, and they're really professional. They go about it really well. So I've spent a lot of time with them training and a little bit socially in Utah. But all the boys have been fine. Robbie Nahas obviously was in a similar position to me 3 weeks ago, so we sort of found each other at the airport and got through that first part of not really knowing anybody. But post that, I've actually felt really comfortable. Not really knowing anyone initially, like on a real personal level. 3 weeks later, you feel comfortable sitting with anyone on the bus or on the flight home. So I feel good.
I guess playing for 12 years, I think you recently got married or engaged.
A year ago, I got married, yeah.
What would it mean to you to finally win the premiership, win an ultimate?
That's why I'm here. It's why I've been trying pretty hard at football for 12 odd. It'd be fantastic. I sort of have felt like it'd be one way to tick off your football career. Obviously, a lot of guys don't get the opportunity, and you never know what can happen with me. But if I could walk away from football, whenever it may be, and sort of tick that box as your football career and just get one premiership, I'd be quite comfortable with that. That'd sit well post-football.
Do you think about it very often at all? Or?
Not really. Probably not as much as people have sort of spoken about since I've left St Kilda. I still think about the losses every now and then and what could have been, but that's all part of my football career and a few of the other guys at the Saints. It was tough, and they're all learning experiences, and that's something hopefully I can pass on to the North boys about those experiences and going through finals and showing resilience and bouncing back and all that sort of stuff. So as I said before, we'll just work through it. I'm not here to say that if we don't win a premiership in the next whatever years that we're in strife, but you'd obviously love to win one.